So we're going to start this off by heat treating our canister build, and this was a canister that was made up of 15 and 20 stainless steel cable and copper, and we're going to go ahead and heat this up to 1525 degrees, and then we're going to quench it in peanut oil that was warmed up to 120 degrees. Now after we get this quenched, we want to go ahead and get it into our oven, and we're going to be tempering this at 375 degrees for an hour and a half. And then we're going to go ahead and get our bevels finalized. So whenever I was doing everything in the last video, I just brought the bevels up just a little bit so that we had them initialized, but I left it pretty thick so that we would minimize any type of warping that could happen whenever we did our heat treating process. But now we're going to go ahead and we're taking our 60 grit ceramic belt and we're bringing those bevels up to the height that we want them. And we're going to use a couple of different belts during this process. So the first one is this 60 grit. The second one is going to be this 120 grit ceramic belt. And we're going to use it to start smoothing out some of those grinding lines from the heavier grit belts. And then after that, I used a Scotch-Brite belt, just a medium one, smooth it out a little bit more. And then I started hand sanding. And I'm using a hard backer whenever I'm doing this, just to make sure we keep all the lines nice and crisp. But I used 220 grit, 320 grit, and 500 grit, and I left it at a 500 grit finish because I felt like that was plenty for the process that we're going to be working on. So once we got that finish done, we're going to go ahead and go into our acid. Now this is a ferric chloride mixture of 50-50 ratio with ferric chloride and distilled water, and we're going to let it soak in there for about 20 minutes, and then whenever that's done, we're going to pull out a blade that's actually pretty dark. Now our goal is to not keep it this dark, but we're doing this process to get a good end result finish after we get done buffing. So we go on the acid for 20 minutes, and then we go into the coffee for 2 hours. We get this real dark finish on our 15 and 20. But we're not going to keep that. We're going to end up buffing a lot of this off, because if you left that dark, the first few times you used it, it would actually remove that dark finish. So we're going to buff it back to be able to get the finish that we want, that we're going to talk about in the outro. Alright everybody, let's go ahead and wrap this one up here. Now, before I start showing you the knife and everything, I do want you to know that I am going to go full screen with it on a part of this outro so you can actually see it in full screen pictures, because me holding it up to the camera doesn't really do it justice, but I want to explain a few things to y'all. So, is this an absolute perfect knife? Nope. But is it amazing? Yes, it is. So what makes it not perfect is the fact that the edge, so the 15 and 20 from the center, wasn't absolutely centered in the edge. You can see how the copper comes down a little bit lower on this side versus this side. So that means it wasn't perfectly centered down the edge. Now it was pretty centered to where we made sure that we did not have any copper or cable crossing over that edge. But the few things that I want to talk about, y'all saw how dark it was whenever I pulled it out of the acid in the coffee. It was jet black. We did that for a reason. So I had to etch it for a little bit longer. For one, because stainless steel, you have to etch for a long time. Now we can only go so long because the copper will dissolve really fast. So it's kind of a give and take. So I wanted to make sure that everything was really dark because whenever I got done buffing it, it would give me this cool slate gray color right here. Now I knew that this was going to happen because whenever I made my first Mocha Megane, I actually tried it out, etched it, did all that stuff, and it came out with this really cool darkness right here. And whenever you buff it, it leaves the darkness all the way down the edge of the copper, and it gives it almost a shadow effect, but it makes everything pop on there. And I am absolutely excited about this. I think it's really cool. I'm happy that I kept some of the can on there, so some of the mild steel. It gives it some real cool depth whenever you actually see it in person and just hold it. It looks really cool, and I'm super happy with this build. But let's go ahead, go full screen so you can see it, and I'll talk about it. So let's go now. Now, again, with this knife, I'm super happy with how everything turned out. On one side, you see all of the braided cable going through it, and you can see all that copper in between, everything intermingled with the cable, and it just turned out absolutely awesome. And then on the other side, you have like this cool almost fingerprint going on. You can see all the cable, and it's all mixed up together there, and I'm just super happy with how both sides turned out and gave me this real cool mixture of cable and copper. And I'm serious about that. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I'm happy that both sides aren't exactly the same because this was a learning experience, and now I know what to focus on whenever I do this again. And I've got a few other builds that I'm planning on doing that kind of are like this, but that are going to be a lot more, I guess you could, I wouldn't say intricate, but a lot more involved, and we're gonna see how those go whenever we actually, get to that point. But guys, I'm really excited to hear what y'all think about this build so far, and I want to hear what y'all think about what I'm about to tell you. So in the next video, we're going to be working on the handle scales for this knife, attaching them, shaping them, things like that. Now, typically whenever I pair up my handle scale material to the knives, some of y'all go, I don't know if that's going to work. Other people go, well, you've told us that in the past and it ended up working, so we have faith in you. Y'all are going to have faith in me on this one. Because some people would have probably expected some burl or just jet black or something like that with this. But I'm going with black palm. So this looks like cable whenever you actually start shaping it, because you have all the dots going through it, and it kind of matches the theme of this knife. Now, it's not an exact thing, but hear me out. I want all the striations and I want all of that on this. For one, it's going to give enough impact, but not draw away from the knife. If I go with a crazy burl, you're not really going to know what to focus on, whether you're going to look at the wood or whether you're going to look at the knife. I want something to complement, but not overpower. So we're going to go with this, and we're going to go with copper pins. I think the overall package is going to make a lot of sense whenever y'all see it all done, but I want to know what y'all think about it. So tell me in the comment section, do you think this is going to make sense with this knife? Guys, that is the end of this one. Just make sure that y'all give this video a thumbs up, share this video or one of my other videos, and if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. Now guys, thank y'all for coming by. Thank y'all for checking this out. Y'all have an amazing day. Y'all stay safe out there, and I will catch y'all next time.